This video will go over the advanced working class Automa in the game Hegemony. This is the initial setup for the working class player for the advanced Automa. So looking over to this side, remember that the actions that are closest to the ring are the ones that we're going to have the highest priority for, and the farther away from the ring is the lower priority. Also, there are different levels. The higher the different actions go level-wise, means they have higher priority, so you want the highest priority that is closest to the ring. So initially, this is the setup. So on the highest level, you have assigned workers, and then buy goods and services, propose bill. On the lower level, you have special action, strike, and demonstration. As for the policies that the working class can use, on the higher level, on the second level, you've got fiscal policy, number 1, and welfare education is number 5. And then 2, labor market, 4, healthcare and benefits, and 6, foreign trade. That is going to be on the lower level. The 2 that are off the board initially, because those are the 2 that the working class already has policies in their favor, are immigration and taxation. Let's work through an action card and see how this will progress for the working class. So you flip it over, and you are going to have the 4 actions on the top of the card. They are going to be the same 4 actions every one of these cards for the working class, because there are only 4 in there, but they're going to be in different orders. So we are going to take these different actions on the top row as the checks, and each one of them will have a card that corresponds to it, and we'll take those checks in order before we determine what actions are taken. So starting on the left side, we have the proposed bill, and with proposed bill in the advanced mode, you must have a bill marker available and at least 1 policy priority card in a priority row. So you have to have a policy that you want to change toward you that is not currently in your favor, and you also need to have a proposed bill available in that at that time. So going up to the check policies card, you see that these are the policy priorities for the working class. You want A's across the board for 1 through 5, but then 6 you want C, 7 you want B. So for each of the 2 policies listed, and looking back here, we've got foreign trade and immigration on the card, so those are the 2 listed ones that they're referencing. If the policy priority card is not set aside and you have at least 1 available bill marker, check where the policy marker is. If the current policy is directly next to your desired policy, you can move the proposed bill +1. If the current policy is 2 spaces away from your desired policy, proposed bill will move +2. And if the policy is the labor market, the proposed bill will go +1. Also take note, you move the policy's priority card the same number of steps. So if you've got both foreign trade and immigration, you could potentially do this check twice. So let's say that the foreign trade, let's say it's at B currently, so it's 1 step away from C, then you would do a proposed bill up 1, and then you would also do foreign trade up 1. Now take note, immigration is off the board currently, so the assumption then at the beginning of the game is that that policy is at B where you want it, so you wouldn't do anything with that, okay? Then you look and you see if you're unable to propose a bill for either policy. So let's say you had 6C and 7B and you were not able to propose a bill because of that, then you would instead move the special action up 1 in that situation. Moving on to the second check. So we have this green cart right here, and that represents buying goods and services. You have to be able to buy at least one of the three resources, health, education, luxury, in a quantity that will allow you to increase your prosperity. That is the action criteria, but let's see what it says on this card. So check if the three resources that increase your prosperity are available in a quantity equal to your population, even if you buy from two sources. And you have to check to make sure you can afford to buy them. If you're unable to buy any of the three resources, you would move the special action up one. Otherwise, for each available resource, check the following. If you can get it for free, you are able to move buy goods and services up 3. If it will cost you 6 per item or less, but not free, you move buy goods and services up 2. And then if you will be able to buy it, but only for 6 per item, you move it for 1. You can do this for each eligible resource. So health, education, and luxury, you could potentially make these checks for each one. Okay, so let's just say, for example, that you are able to get health for free, but you cannot get education or luxury. You would just look at health and move the buying goods and services up 3 at this time. 1, 2, 3 would complete the check on that card. One other thing to note for checking goods and services, when you buy from two different sources, sometimes you run into a situation where you are paying different costs for each one. So ultimately, you need to average out the amount of money that you spent per item to determine which category that you're placing it in. So the example they give, if you buy 2 health from the state for 5 each, and the remaining 3 health from another player for 8 each, the total cost is 34 for 5. In that case, the per item cost is more than 6. So you would divide it out to get what that number is, and then once you have that number, you would apply it to the criteria on the card that checks goods and services. The third check that is on this current card is the assign workers. So assign workers, there's not anything particular for the advanced mode, but the general card text would be you must be able to assign at least 2 unemployed workers to 1 or more companies, or 1 worker to a trade union. So for check workers, the check card says to swap any skilled workers in unskilled slots with unskilled unemployed workers if possible. So you get your skilled workers available to put in new companies by taking the gray unskilled workers and putting them into the extra positions that are occupied by skilled workers. Then you'll check the following. If there's a way to assign workers so at least 2 unemployed workers become employed, you would add 1 to the assigned workers per worker that you assign. So if you have more than 1 worker, so usually it'll be 2 or maybe 3, then you can move this up more than 1. If there's a way to assign workers that will form 1 or more trade unions, you can assign workers 2 and get 2. You can move the assigned workers card up 2 per union that you form. If the previous questions did not cause the priority card to move, you get to move the special action up 1. And finally, if there are more unemployed workers than available worker slots, then the demonstration will go up by the difference. So let's say you've got 7 unemployed workers and 4 worker slots, then 7 minus 4 means the demonstration will move up 3. So let's say, for example, you were able to form 1 trade union, and that is what you are able to do at that time. So once you do that, you get 2, 1, 2 for assigned workers. And then as you move down the card, the special action is irrelevant because you were able to do the trade union. But then since there are more unemployed workers, let's use that scenario. There are 7 unemployed workers and 4 slots for them. 7 minus 4 is 3. you would move demonstration up. 1, 2, 3. Now remember, the card that is closest to the ring is the one that's the higher priority. And when you move cards up the line, you move them to the left of the cards that are in place. So they are a lower priority than the ones that are closest to the middle. The last check that will happen will be the strike card. And for the strike card, one of the following conditions must apply. Labor market has to be in 2C, or the labor market has to be in 2B, and there have to be at least 2 trade unions. You also must have at least 2 companies eligible for strikes, excluding public companies which offer their services for free. So if we look at the strike check, if the labor market policy is in section B and you have at least 2 trade unions, you will do strike +1 per 3 companies. If the labor market policy is in section C, you'll do strike +1 per 2 companies, and labor market will go up 1 as well. So let's just say the labor market policy is in section C and you have, let's say, 6 companies. So in that case, strike 1, 2, 3, as well as the labor market goes up 1. From there, the next thing that'll happen is we'll collapse the cards down. Since we have completed all of our checks, we move these, and then when you move a row, you move the row together and you just get rid of the gaps between. And there are no gaps over for the policies, so you leave those there. And then we look and we see which action is the highest priority. We look to the top, whichever one is the highest, and again, the one that is closest to the middle. If by chance this buy goods and services wasn't here, then we're looking at assign worker because it's the highest and it's closest to the middle. So it is a higher priority over these other ones that are on the same level, but more toward the outside. But buy goods and services was the highest one for this card, so we would take the buy goods and services action so long as we are eligible to do so, which our assumption was that we were. If by chance you are unable to do the buy goods and services here, so if you're not able to do the highest priority action, you would take the second highest priority action. If, again, we had a second action on the same level, you would go to that one next. But in this case, since there's only one on the top level, you would do the highest priority one, the closest to the middle ring on the next level. That would be the action that you would take if you could not do the first action. If by chance you can't do the first action or the second action, then you would apply political pressure and you get 3 cubes in the bag. You do not go past the second priority with the Automa. After the action is taken, then the Automa will move the action card that they took down 2 steps. So buy goods and services, that was the primary action. And if that's the action that happened, you move down 1, 2. It will go to the farthest outside spot on that level. If you take the action that is on the left side of the action card, the very first one, if in this case proposed bill was the priority to be taken, then you would also get the bonus that is in the middle of the card. And finally, if the special action card is the one that you end up taking, you would look at the bottom of the card, and that would be the action that you take. At the end of the round, as you prepare for the next round, the Automa will reset the policies based on any policies that are the same ones as the check policies card. They will not have available, they'll take out of the rotation, but any then that are 1 away from that, so let's say some of these are B. Let's say 1 and 4 are at B, In that case, 1 and 4 would be on the bottom level. And then let's also say that 2 is at C, which is 2 away. 5 is at C, which is 2 away. And 6 is at A. Those, if they're 2 away from the desired policy, they will go on the second level in preparation for the next round. So that is the end of the turn for the working class player in Hegemony. I invite you to check out the other instructional videos for more information about how to play the working class Automa, as well as the other teams and the other gameplay aspects of Hegemony.